On my end here, it says the meeting is now streaming live on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay, we're good. Let me just give everyone a second to join this one. Okay, they're trickling in. So.
Okay. And they're able to see us already?
Yes, they can see you already.
We'll give it a few minutes to
Mm-hmm.
to get all the attendees back. Should we carry on, Suzanne?
Yes, you can start.
Okay. So sorry about the technical glitch right there. Want to acknowledge the video that we just saw, that although it was very focused on the DACA population, we'll also want to be very mindful that there are many other students who do not have a DACA permit or are under other types of visas, such as the TPS, TPS, refugee status visa, and there's others. So we just want to be mindful and acknowledge them as well. Students who do not have DACA or are in the process or have no documentation. I just want to be very mindful of that population. So once again, I will state, we want to praise, the bravery, the courage of our two panelists who are willing to share their experience and in an attempt to better serve the undocumented community at Mount San Jacinto College. Also want to remind at any point for our panelists, if you need to stop and communicate with one of us, we can go to the breakout room we're here to support you. We also have resources on campus through the health center, and also for our audience, if anyone may find the need to need mental health services or someone to talk to, please, we have during our health center, we have our mental health services. So with that in mind, we are anxious to and ready to start our panel and start learning on how to better serve our undocumented community. So Pamela, if you want to ask question number one to both participants, the participants also know that if any question is uncomfortable or they wish not to answer, they can choose to skip that question as well. You're muted.
Okay, so the first question is, introduce yourself. Please include your name, major, school of attendance, academic journey. And again, if there's any parts of this question that you don't want to answer, that's fine. Just provide us with the information you feel comfortable telling us. Perhaps we could start with Anaí.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Anaí Resendez, and my major is business administration. I graduated from Mount San Jacinto last spring, and now I'm attending at Cal State San Bernardino and going for my bachelor's.
Participant number 2.
Hi, my name is Alma. I currently go to MSJC and majoring in psychology and liberal arts.
Okay, question number 2. Reflecting back on your first year at college or the university, what was your experience as an undocumented status student? Anaí?
My first year at ManSAC, I would say my first semester was really hard because it was hard to get used to going back to school and everything. But my experience at ManSAC has, made it, after the first month, it was better. I got more involved in school. I I joined the EOPS. I also joined the honor students, and so later after the first semester, it was better.
Thank you. Participant number 2, reflecting back on your first year of college or university, what was your experience as an undocumented status student?
My experience has been, I can happily say that it has been good besides the first month where I needed to get used to the difference between college and high school. Um, the first time that I started to apply to MSGC was a little hard because they were asking for papers that I didn't know what they meant. I didn't know they had to do with me. For example, like the 8540. All I remember one of the counselors was like, just sign this. And I was like, what is it? Oh, it's so you can pay in-state tuition. And I was just like, well, I need more information. But other than that, my first year has been pretty good. Some professors have been really understandable the fact that you're not from here, others haven't, but overall I have been really, really good my first year.
I am glad that you state that, participant number 2, because I will share a scenario, and this did not happen at Mount San Jacinto College, and we would not want it to ever happen at Mount San Jacinto College, where a student approaches the financial aid office and the representative asks for the Social Security. The student states, I do not have one. The representative states, how can you not have a Social Security number? And once again, this did not happen at Mount San Jacinto, and we don't ever want it to happen at Mount San Jacinto College. Question number 3 would be Pamela.
Okay, so can you tell us about an uncomfortable situation you experienced while in college or university due to your status, and or an uncomfortable situation in your career? And let us know, did you reach out for help? And if so, to whom? And so in answering this question, please speak really out loudly so that we can hear you well, but I'll repeat it since it was a multi-part question. Can you tell us about an uncomfortable situation you experienced while in college, university due to your status, or an uncomfortable situation in your career, and did you reach out for help? Anaí, would you like to start?
Well, I think at the beginning when I started going to ask about my status for like financial aid, at first it was a bit uncomfortable because they, yeah, you would have to tell them like, okay, but I'm a DACA student. Okay, but so you would have to let them know because right away they'll be like, oh, we can't find you. So you would have to explain everything. And at first it made me a little bit uncomfortable, but then after I was proud to be one of the DACA students.
And okay, well, that's good. I'm glad. Okay, so participant number 2, how about you? Can you tell us about an uncomfortable situation in college or your career based on your status?
I think the most uncomfortable that has been is when everybody's filling out their FAFSA and they talk about how much they're getting or what they need to do, or I need help with this, and ask you like, oh, did you fill out this? Did you get this? And you're like, no, I don't. You don't know how to answer it, 'cause as much as you blend in with everybody, you still have that little something that it doesn't allow you to be fully blend in. You know, I remember like the first time, like here at MSJC, people are like, oh, did you went to this workshop and you know that they give this? And I was like, oh no, I had class or I was busy. I think that is the most uncomfortable thing that people like us have experienced when it comes to FAFSA and the DREAM Act, even though, you know, they kind of want to make it seem like it's the same thing. At the end of the day, it really isn't, because you have that as an undocumented, you only get grants once a semester. As FAFSA, you get it like every 3 months or so. So I think that is the most uncomfortable, where you can't really blend in with FAFSA or like California.
Thank you.
for sharing.
I do want to add to both participants and to the audience that, as a counselor, I've seen, for the same reason, a DACA student or a documented student who's not receiving DACA does not get the same financial aid that, someone who does receive federal grant. So many times I see our undocumented students taking more than 15 units in an attempt to get the completion grant, the success completion grant. And it's hard to be a full-time student, nonetheless, to be taking 15 plus units under this online environment. Yet they are doing it, and it's hard. I'm pretty sure, because I hear their stories. It's really hard to carry a 15-unit load and work, or be a single parent, or be help out with the income for the family. Yet they are excelling and doing very well, in order to get that additional support. So I praise all the students who still manage those 15 loads plus under this online environment. I will ask question number 4 to Anaí. Have your academic goals changed due to your status? If so, how did you adjust to the situation?
My goals for my career have changed. My situation, I think it has made it stronger. I am the first one in my family to graduate from college. So that makes me really proud. And I just want to finish my career, and I'm ready to work on my on the career field that I'm going for. I'm ready to be out there and use what I have learned to better myself and have a better income, because as right now I can only work part-time because of school.
Thank you, Anaí. And we've had a series of events during this week. We had different presenters who have really pushed to letting our undocumented community know that, especially you've stated a business career, that you can be an entrepreneur, you can be a freelancer, you can, as mentioned earlier, I said you can adjust your plans, adjust your game plan, but never your dreams or your goals. So, and you're doing very well. We're really proud of you, Anaí. You're at Cal State San Bernardino doing excellent, and we are very proud of you. So also participant number 2, how have your academic goals changed due to your status? And if so, how did you adjust to the situation?
My academic goals have changed, the fact that deeply inside of me, I wanted to be a teacher or go into the medical field, but due to my status, I can't. So therefore, I had to force myself to find a career that would somewhat in the future me, regardless of status, because we don't have the privilege as others where like, I'll just go to college and see what I like. I'll take classes and see if I fit in, or or if I like it. We don't have that privilege. We have to have a set of mind where this is where I can do, not what I want, therefore I'm stuck with it and you have to live with it, you know? You might grow love into the career that you have the ability, but in reality you really don't.
Thank you. Thank you, participant member two. And then we shared with a documented community that the hope is, and I know that for many of us, um, it's the fuel to, to achieve an education, to improve your income, to help your family, to help your community. Um, I deeply encourage you, participant number two, that at your community college, to seek out the Career Center. We had a presentation yesterday that that touch into, we would say, like dreamer friendly careers, um, where you are doing what you want to do, what really passions you, because that's going to make you successful and grow in that field. But you're right, there are certain limitations, and like you said, certain freedoms that you don't have. But there are careers, or there you could infuse, your dreams, your goals with a career that you can be successful in. So I really encourage you to seek out your career counselor, or if you're part of EOPS or your general counselor, to find that career that's gonna make you happy, and at the same time, lead you to financial independence or to potential employment. Number 5, Pam.
Okay, so Annie, what advice can you give our students in preparing for transfer to the university? Were you part of any programs that ease your transition? If so, which one? And then also, do you have any advice for students preparing for their career? And you're muted.
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Okay, so the question was, what advice can you give our students in preparing for transfer to the university, since you are successfully transferred to university? And then also, were you part of any programs that helped to ease your transition?
I would say to get involved in the campus, like attend to when they have the documented student week, when they have clubs out there, go ahead and participate and get more information. When you have a question, don't be afraid to ask a counselor or anybody. And if you could be involved in the EOPS system service, I'll recommend, because thanks to that program, I stayed focused on the career plan, and they help you work what career you're going for, and they help you to know what classes to take to transfer. So if I wouldn't have that, I think it would have took me longer. And so what you just want to stay on track and just ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because there's a lot of help there. It's just there, but you just have to go look for it.
Also, do you have any advice for students in preparing for their career?
Well, the best advice is to just stay focused. Don't give up. There's well, everybody has a different lifestyle, but if you work and have kids, don't let that intimidate you to your career. Always think about consistency, and just don't give up. If something doesn't work out in the first semester, don't give up and just go stronger the next semester. Just don't give up.
And participant number 2, I know that you are still at Mount San Jacinto College, but do you have any advice to give students preparing for transfer?
I think my best advice would be get help from a counselor, and it might be a little biased, but if it's somebody from your same entity, it's better because they'll understand you more and they'll help you more. email counselors are good. If you go with somebody that doesn't really understand your situation or doesn't really know about it, they might obviously help you the same, but I think it's better if you go with somebody that understands you deeply in the heart than other counselors. I think that's my best advice that I can give people.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, participant. So, seeking out a counselor who is willing to, culturally understand you and connect with you. I did want to ask Anaí, and I'm adding to question number 5. What kind of resources does the universities have for the undocumented students? And are there any at Cal State San Bernardino?
I know that they used to have like a club for undocumented, but since the COVID, we're not allowed in the campus, so it makes it a little bit hard to do everything online. And I know they have that UPS in there too, and I applied for it, but I still haven't got any answer back from them. But just it's a little bit harder when the campus is closed. I'm pretty sure they have other stuff, but I haven't been able to look into it since everything's online.
Mhm. And there is, thank you, Anna, for sharing that. I know the online environment makes it a little bit harder to, to connect with certain organizations or clubs, but there is a lot of help at both the UC level and the Cal State. So, ask your counselor or ask your advisor at the university, because there is a lot of resources for the undocumented community. Of course, some universities are more in tune with that community, but all over for the most part, and if you are preparing to transfer, as your community college counselor or staff, what resources are out there in the community, in the university that you're are, seeking to transfer as well. So I'll do question number 6. And it'll be, well, we'll skip number 6, Pam, and we'll go straight to did you share your status with friends, during high school, during college, and why or why not?
When I attended high school with my friends, I was the only one that didn't um was born here. So at first I wouldn't share, but then later when everybody started getting jobs and they would ask me like, why you don't want to get a job? But I just tell them like, oh, I wouldn't tell them I can. I'm just like, oh, my parents don't let me work. But it was because I couldn't get a job at that time because I didn't have a social security number. And then later when I attended college and they would tell me like, because I would tell them like, oh, I don't have enough money to purchase a book. And they're like, why? Like, don't you get FAFSA? And then I would tell them like, no. And then I would tell them my situation and they'd just be like, oh, you don't look like that. Like you don't look like you were not born here. And it will be a little bit uncomfortable because there'll be new people that I just met. But I would be like, yeah, I was born in Mexico and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a bit uncomfortable at the beginning.
Thank you, Anna, for sharing your having the courage to share that. It is hard to disclose that, and especially as you mentioned, the stigma, like what am I supposed to look like as an undocumented student, that negative stereotype, whatever, and always remember, Anna, that that's things that other individual has to work through. You are doing everything in your power to achieve, to complete, to support your family, to help your community. So always praise that, remember that they have to work on their stereotypes and their prejudices or whatever, But thank you for having the courage on sharing that. Participant number 2, during high school, elementary, or during your life, or at the college, did you share your status with friends? And if so, why or why not?
At first, when I came in elementary, I was looked at different, like, why don't you speak English? So it was kind of like I didn't really understand what was going on. So obviously, so new. But as I started to learn English and I started to blend in with people in middle school and high school, people tend to forget that you're not here. Obviously, my closest friends do know, like, I'm not from here, but others, like, I wouldn't tell them at all, like, because you stand out and they like make jokes like, oh, let's go eat tacos to TJ or let's go to Rosarito and this, for all the things. And you're like, oh, I can't go. And why? Oh, they won't let me go. Or you have to make up a lie so that you don't have to be looked at the weird one or something. But some people, my close friends did know that I'm not from here. The others, I would kind of have to lie and be like, oh, my mom's strict. She won't let me go. Or make things up like, like she said, why don't you get a job? I was like, where am I supposed to get one? Like, they ask for a social, even places where you might think, oh, it looks like crappy, they still ask. So you, at the end of the day, you still don't blend in fully.
Thank you. Thank you. It is difficult, and then, for our audience, if we have any professors, counselors, or staff, or just members in the community, just be very mindful and I speak for myself, I'm formerly undocumented, and now I have, like you said, the privilege of, going to Mexico to have those tacos that you stated. Just be very mindful on when you share out that, maybe you do have a student in your class or who does not have that privilege, and just being very mindful. And also too, if we have any, professors, counselors, or staff, I want to share a scenario. Once again, this did not happen at Mount San Jacinto, and we do not intend for it to happen at Mount San Jacinto. So we saw how hard it is for a student to disclose that they are undocumented. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of, trust. So once you do, if we had a scenario here where a student had struggled to disclose this to the professor, and she finally does, state that she's undocumented to the professor. And the professor responds in a very non-culturally competent manner, says, "Are you telling me you're an illegal immigrant?" Can you imagine the trust, the heart, how hard it was for the student to open up, and then the professor to be that receptive. So please be very mindful on the words that you use when addressing this community, because they're hurtful. A lot of students have come from trauma, racist trauma, making their journey from, as Pamela stated, from very different parts of the world, being exploited, risking their lives. So the fact that they had the courage to disclose that to you, you now have a responsibility as a professional of how you're going to respond in a very warm, supportive way. Okay. And then I guess you can ask Pam number 7.
Okay. So, Anaí, do you feel that your college or university has supported you? And if so, what are the kinds of programs and services that they supported you with? And what do you think that future students should look into in terms of programs or organizations?
Well, I would say basically it's the students' responsibility, I would say, to look into the programs. Because at first they well, now where I'm at Cal State San Bernardino, they do know that I'm undocumented, so they do send me like emails and updates of stuff that's going on. But when I started at San Jacinto, they didn't know, so I had to go out there and look for the programs. So, but over here they know and they send me emails and updates of what's going on. So maybe if they would do that amongst that sense, once, like if they know, they could just start sending out information, because a lot of students maybe they don't go and look for the help because they're embarrassed, or they don't want to speak up, or they don't want nobody to know that they're undocumented. Because I know that's how I felt at the beginning. I was kind of like nervous. I'm like, what about if that program, I don't qualify because I'm undocumented? So you don't know until you go and ask. So maybe if they would send out emails and like encourage them to go out there, because a lot of people are just afraid.
Yeah. So do you feel though at your current college that, do you feel that they're supporting you, that they're supportive of you? Or no?
As right now, I do feel supported. It's just that I would say that online has making it difficult to really interact with people and really know if they're really there for you. It's different emails, it's different a phone call, and even the Zoom is different. It's not the same thing as you would go in and see them in person.
Thank you. Participant number 2, do you feel that your college has supported you? And what kind of programs do you think students should look into?
Like my college has supported me a lot because ever since I started going to MSJC, they do always send out emails as of everything that's going on as like of the week or the month, and I see that they do have workshops for undocumented students, or like they have the week of undocumented. I remember last year I was in the program called Puente, and they did a whole week of many different activities. And I know they usually do like the butterflies, and they were giving out butterflies to everybody, and everybody were doing this. And they put it, because we have a big eagle in the middle, they were putting it there, and like I think it gave information.
Okay. I kind of missed the last sentence that you said. Something about information.
They do give out a lot of information.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry.
Yes, fam. So we're able to see, our student Anais stated that it is, some part like a 50-50, but, responsibility to seek out services. But as professionals, we have that responsibility as well to more, to be able to promote events. If you get an email, if you're teaching a class or you're part of the OPS or Puente, to share out those to your students, to the participants of your program. And also just being very aware, I have the privilege of teaching a guidance class or a counseling class at another institution. And I just want to share the last scenario of, just being aware, being cognizant about not only helping the undocumented community, but all students, from underrepresented populations, if it's the LGBTQ plus community, the Native and Indigenous identifying students, the African American, single parents. But I had a student share out in one of their journals that although she does not have a political party preference, she constantly is in fear as an undocumented student, as her neighbors display Trump signs and Confederate flags, which are associated with a supremacist or with a non-accepting of the undocumented community. So imagine a student living with that fear. So just being very flexible, very understanding, paying attention to their assignments, to their reflections, and being there to taking that extra, going above and beyond to say, you know what, I would like to meet with you after class and see where you're at. Maybe check in weekly, especially right now during the times that we are, going through, just providing that support, because we do have a responsibility as professionals, as community members, to support our youth. They are our future. They are what's going to move fuel. You stated, Pam, how how much of an input the undocumented population has to the economy, to many different sectors. So it is our responsibility to take care of this community. And like I said, none of these incidents happened at Mount San Jacinto, and I do not envision them ever happening at Mount San Jacinto, because we are an institution who has pledged equity. And then we're learning, we're growing, but we need to be very cognizant and be very responsible as professionals. And with that in mind, I want to thank all the attendees, but definitely how proud I am of our two participants, Anaí and participant number 2. We admire you. We know that you're going to reach your goals and you're going to make an impact in the community. You're already making an impact in the community. Thank you very much for participating and taking time out of your, heavy schedules to come in and share out so that we can learn on how best serve you. Pam?
I just want to echo, what you've said, and thank our participants for sharing. It was very brave of you to come. We really appreciate it. It helps us a lot. And then I also want to thank those folks who are watching on YouTube for joining in and getting a little bit more information about undocumented students.
Muy bien. And Suzanne, I know the week is not over. We still have some more activities. If you can maybe show the flyer or tell us what's we have activities, but also Pam and I were having a conversation that it shouldn't just be Undocumented Week of Action, that we should always be, providing services, providing events to support the undocumented community, but also other marginalized or other underrepresented communities within our institution. But Susan, do you have a list of future events that we're going to be having the rest of this week?
Yes, so if you visit our Week of Action webpage, I'm going to put it in the chat over on the YouTube. You can see recordings of all the events that have happened Monday through Wednesday. And then there's also a couple more events today that are happening: an immigration and policy update with Todec Legal Center at 11. And then we have a financial aid workshop at 2 o'clock in Spanish. So if you're available to come check those out, or if you want to go view videos from previous presentations, all the links are on that webpage.
Also, I did want to share that, this fall semester, we can proudly share our Dreamers page on campus. Let me see if I can link onto it. Sorry. So if we go to Mount San Jacinto, am I sharing the Mount San Jacinto page? Let me share. This is our Eagle Center. I mean, our main page. We're able to see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then if we go to Student Live, we have Dreamers at Mount San Jacinto, MSJC. We're still seeing that. Now we have the page, okay. And we have our Dreamers Home, and we have on-campus allies, in different sectors. And we want the whole undocumented work group and the whole institution wants this list to grow down, where we're gonna have to need another page of allies who are supporting our community. We also, if you need any legal advice, you can link here onto Todec, who is a legal center, can advise you. And once we have our the campus opens up, they're going to have a day or two where they're going to be on campus to be able to support you, to be able to answer those questions. And so just want to share out that we have that Dreamers Home. And with that in mind, thank you. Have a beautiful rest of the week. Gracias for your participation, for your attention, and continue. Let's fill out those rooms, those virtual rooms with the the next workshops or events that we're going to be having. And felicidades on the undocumented week of action. Thank you, Anaí, and thank you, student number 2.